Hi, this is Peter Friedrich, and today we're speaking with Ejaz Ayub about the Kashmir issue. So, Ejaz, I want to welcome you and thank you in advance for offering your time and your perspective on the current situation in Kashmir. And you're from Kashmir, aren't you?
Thank you, Peter. Yes, I am from Kashmir, born and brought up there. And I've studied there, I've worked there, and since the last few days, I'm based in Bombay now. Since in May, I'm started there in Kashmir. I've moved to Bombay, and I'm not in touch with my family at all. And currently, I'm also working as a current foreign exchange fund manager in a financial institution.
Okay, so can you tell us,
Yeah.
Ejaz, a little bit about what is happening in Kashmir right now? Because there's been this ongoing conflict in Kashmir for the past 30 years, 70 years, really. And
Yeah.
the issue
Yeah.
of conflict in Kashmir is unfortunately not a new issue. But what is it that
Right.
today is prompting you to feel like you have a need to speak out?
Yeah, recently the government of India took a decision in the parliament, which was a unilateral, unconstitutional, and maybe lacks legal standing. The decision was regarding removal of a special status that we enjoyed as a state of Jammu and Kashmir, and that was provided to us when the erstwhile princely state of Jammu and Kashmir acceded to the Union of India when the when the partition happened in 1947. But this special status, which gave us kind of a semi-autonomy in the federal structure of India, that was reduced, that was abrogated on 5th of August 2019. And with that decision, my history, my geography, and my future, all three major aspects of my life as an individual, as a community, are getting seriously impacted. And the irony is that while taking that decision, none of the representatives, democratically elected representatives, were taken into confidence. None of the uh, leaders from the society, and not even the people. There's 40 million people in Jammu and Kashmir, and if you talk about Kashmir Valley specifically, there are 8 million people, and all of them have been put in kind of an open prison. There is curfew, there is lockdown, there are no communication channels, not even landline. The cable TV is gone. You don't have internet. You don't have any way to connect to people. All of them people have been put kind of an open prison since last 11 days, and the decision was taken. You are deciding a fate of 18 million souls, 8 million souls, and you're making laws for them in the Indian Parliament. This is not how you do it. This is the basic essence of democracy. You are ripping apart the basic essence of democracy. So that's why it's very important for me to come out and speak, because most of the media that is run by the Indian media houses, they are not reporting it properly. They are not giving the clear picture as to why is it an unconstitutional decision, why people have been locked down, because government of India understands and they know it, because people won't be supporting this kind of a decision. This article used to be called as an article of faith for the people of Jammu and Kashmir. This was the link that used to connect the Indian Constitution and the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Removing this was in nobody's favor. I mean, the people of Jammu and Kashmir, none of the not there used to be two kinds of political platforms in J&K. There used to be separatists, which used to kind of question the India's accession with Jammu and Kashmir, and there used to be mainstream politicians who used to be kind of torchbearers for Indian Union in the state of Jammu and Kashmir since last 70 years. There are families like Abdullah's, Muftis, behind bars because they know even those people who have been advocating India in the state of Jammu and Kashmir, even they are not agreeing to this decision. Even those people have been put behind bars. Now you can understand how much resistance and how much kind of anti people and anti democratic decision has been taken. This is totally against the wishes and aspirations of the people of Jammu and Kashmir. That's why it's very important for me to come out and speak, so that we are very thankful to Western media and people like you who are come out and talking to Kashmiris as to how they feel. Otherwise, the state government controlled media, which is showing like as if they are doing some kind of a favor by abrogating Article 370. They are saying that it will be for the economic benefit of people, which is totally kind of a sham. it's a Trojan horse. They have always used some kind of narrative. They are pushing that narrative so that they are able to justify the decision. There is no, I don't see any economic development taking place because of this decision, and there are reasons to it. I'm a student of economics. I understand these things properly. The decision that was said that because of the ownership rights of land, because of Article 370, the investment couldn't come there. But there are hundreds of other reasons as to why investment was not coming here. It was not just the ownership of land. Ownership of land was already provided through our industrial policy, which gave even the not non-state subjects, means not just the indigenous people of Jammu and Kashmir. Other people can also set up industries and factories there for 99 years of lease. That there was a provision, and which could be further increased. Besides that, there has been not. If you ask anybody, for economic development to take place, it's the government, it's the public sector enterprises that come to the place first. Then after the private sector follows. Even the government of India's public sector entities, they have not been able to. For them, there was no funding for Article 370 for public sector enterprises for government of India. But even those entities were not able to invest anything there. The reason is peace. It's a conflict region. It's a disputed territory. And unless and until you don't address that dispute, you don't address the dispute, which is the political aspirations of the people, you are not going to see any kind of growth, any kind of economic development. So that narrative which is being pushed is absolutely, it's bizarre, and people don't buy that. And if you talk about economic indicators, the below poverty line in J&K, it's only 12 to 10%. In rest of India, it's 25%. Means people in India are worse off than people in J&K. If you talk about other factors, for example, if you talk about the mortality rate, if you talk about the life expectancy thing, if you talk about the sex ratio, all these things are really better than the rest of India. So it's not the question of development. It's not the question of economics. It's the question of politics,
So
and that politics.
let me ask you, Ijaz. So, of course, this justification for the scrapping of Articles 370, 35A, and then for the stripping of statehood of J&K, the justification that was given was this argument that J&K needs development and that the center is doing that in order to further the development of this region. As you say, you don't buy that. So if you don't buy that, then let me ask you, what do you believe is the real motive behind these latest moves in J&K?
And the current powers at helm in the Indian government, it's the extreme right-wing forces that are enjoying the brute majority in the Indian parliament right now. There is an agenda, there's an ideology behind that. And we need to understand, second thing, that J&K is the only Muslim majority of the entire country. And that is something which doesn't go well with their ideology, and they want to change the demography. And they want to do that. They could not do that without changing the ownerships. Because if you talk about the current demography of the Muslim majority state, unless until you don't change ownership right, cannot settle people from the other regions, people from other faiths in the region. So for that to happen, they need to abrogate this thing. That is one. Second important thing is that they have been rallying all the right-wing forces. Uh, Kashmir has been kind of a rallying point for them. It is kind of an ego massage for the ultra-nationalistic forces. They show their muscular policies on Kashmiris being Muslims and all. It consolidates their vote bank in rest of India. That is what has been the policy. If you talk about recent elections that the BJP won, even then the major rhetoric that it revolved around Kashmir and Muslims. So this is the precise reason why these forces are totally being very muscular towards Kashmir, not showing no respect towards constitution, their own constitution, the constitution of India. They are not showing any respect towards the constitution of Jammu and Kashmir. And this is why they have been using Kashmir as a rallying point for consolidating their rest of India vote bank. And their upcoming elections are also coming state elections. Plus, there's one more reason. The kind of majority that they have right now, plus the kind of status that the J&K government, there's no elected government in Jammu and Kashmir right now. It's being governed by the governor. So ideally, the process would have been that the legislative assembly of Jammu and Kashmir would first start the process of abrogation of Article 370. Then the parliament will come. They will also approve it. That is the ideal process as per the process which is in place. But since there is no assembly, they are saying that governor, which is being appointed by the central government, he will be kind of an approving authority on behalf of the representatives of Jammu and Kashmir, which is totally illegal. So this kind of situation was ideal for them. It could not have happened because elections of Jammu and Kashmir were down the line next 3-4 months. If the next assembly would have been in house, it might not have been possible for them to abrogate this law. So that's why it was kind of a dream situation for them. These two things. Plus, there are other factors as well. Other factors being the since 2016, there has been a fatigue in the people of Jammu and Kashmir. They have been protesting. There has been casualties. There has been loss of life. There has been a protest fatigue among people. So pushing them towards this thing, they might be of the opinion in this situation that they might not revolt that much. The resistance might not be that much, but it's a misplaced argument.
So, as this has happened, and as Kashmir remains under this blackout, this communications blockade, and it's been now 11 days, I believe, I've spoken with quite a few Kashmiris who say that they haven't been able to contact their families at all in this time period, and several who've only spoken with their families for maybe a couple of minutes over the past 10 or 11 days. What is your situation? Where is your family? Or what do you know about your family? Have you been able to
Okay.
contact them?
My siblings, my parents are based in Srinagar, and the last time I talked to my parents was on, I think, 4th of August. And before some 3-4 days back, I received a call from my brother. He had to wait almost an hour outside a government provided land, from where he called me and told me they are fine and the situation is really bad. I was eating. He told me not to come. Please don't come. You stay outside Kashmir because it's not good here. You might land up in trouble here, so that's why stay out. Since then, I have not been able to talk to any of my family members, none of my cousins, none of my friends at all. This kind of a situation is unprecedented. All the people within Kashmir and outside Kashmir, they are not able to communicate. And I have not seen in modern age, in this age and time, I have never seen this kind of a clamp down, wherein even your landline phone connections are being shut down. Not to talk about internet, not to talk about mobile connectivity. Even landline connections have been shut down. Even cable TV has been shut down. So this is a complete blackout, and it's a very kind of anxious situation for all of us. We are not able to. We are not. Then you come out. Then media comes out and share some stories about some mishap in the city. It really sends. It puts us in a lot of stress. Because we are not able to know understand whether our loved ones are safe or not. So this is a very ugly situation. We are in total blackout. No connections with our family, no connections with our friends at all. And this is the situation of a so-called the biggest democracy of the world. 8 million people have been put in an open prison without any communication at all. This is unprecedented.
Well, as this blackout is continuing and as you're out of touch with your family, your friends back in Kashmir, like so many other Kashmiris, the voices of Kashmiris right now are being muzzled so that they are not able to speak out from within Kashmir. And I want to ask you, do you feel like at present that the voices of Kashmiris in speaking on their desires about the future and the solution to what's happening in Kashmir, do you feel that the voices of Kashmiris have been given precedence either in the past or in the present? And do you feel like Kashmiris have been provided a place at the table in deciding the future of Kashmir?
No, you must see since last 5-6 years, particularly since 2014, if you talk about media, Kashmiris have been portrayed as hate icons in rest of the India. If you talk about some right-wing sponsored channels and even some other channels, Kashmiris are being invited to talk, but they are being insulted every evening prime time show. There's a debate, four people on one side, there's a Kashmiri on the other side. They hurl the choicest kind of abuses, insults, and that is how it has been since last 5-6 years. And that propaganda has gone so deep in the society, Indian society, that Kashmiris faced kind of an existential crisis in the rest of India. Kashmiris have been working, have been studying in Indian cities, Indian states for last 70 years. But since last 5-6 years, We have had number of incidents wherein Kashmiris were kind of witch hunted. They were beaten. Why? Because the media had played a very ugly role. So, having said that, but there are certain platforms in India, they do exist wherein they are given chance to speak out. But the media, those media houses are not popular because they are not kind of saying what the popular sentiment in rest of India is, which is being fed by the propagandists of right wing forces. Now the social media also. You must have understood that the right wing forces relied a lot on social media, particularly WhatsApp, Facebook, and Twitter. There's an army of trolls. There's an army of people who are like, there are threats, uh, there are abuses. This is unprecedented in India. There's a huge population, and now they have access to smartphones, and they have access to cheap internet. And now, not having that much exposure about politics and about the real understanding of the Kashmir issue, they come out and they kind of know it's the quantity versus quality. There's so much of quantity of abuses and so much of quantity of trolls. The best quality understanding of history, of politics, of geography, of geopolitics, it doesn't matter to them. Whatever the right wing forces feed them, they believe that to be true. That is what the present day India is. That reality is very scary. That reality is very scary, and it's growing day by day. That's even more scarier.
So, as this reality, this frightening reality of the right-wing forces with their troll armies, and the troll armies are just taking in this propaganda and then regurgitating it on social media. As this reality is growing, I do want to ask you, Ajaz, you grew up in Kashmir.
Yeah.
Um, what was it like growing up in Kashmir? What was your experience as a kid?
See, I remember only a piece of peacetime from 2001 to 2007. That was the only time I remember as good, as in kind of sense of security and sense of happiness was there, because that time it was the India Pakistan we're talking about Kashmir solution. If you remember, General Pervez Musharraf from Pakistan side and Prime Minister Manmohan Singh from India side, there used to be certain dialogue process which initiated. There will be the bus service was started from India and Pakistan. Trade was started from LOC, line of control, from the other side of Kashmir and this side of Kashmir. And that time,
This
that
is the Samjhauta Express train.
no, I'm talking the bus service. There was a
Bus.
bus service also, Samjhauta
Okay.
Express. Yeah, bus service. That time, Prime Minister, even Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, he traveled to Pakistan through bus. So there were all good things going on that time, because India and Pakistan were talking to each other, and this is the closest they have ever reached to a solution. There was this 4 point solution, which is the closest they have ever reached, and that is the only time in my lifetime where I have seen some kind of happiness and some kind of stability in my region, some kind of growth, some kind of economic progress, and some kind of political stability. Besides that, if you talk about my early childhood in 90s and after 2008, it has been really scary. We have seen crackdowns, we have seen armies, we have seen these barbed wires, we have seen frisking. I have seen dead bodies in front of me. Once I was going to school in my childhood, they hurled a grenade on a gypsy, and I saw flesh and blood flying in all directions. So this has been kind of, we have been growing up with this. We have grew up seeing these kind of ugly scenes, and then in my recent history, 2008, 2010, there were unprecedented amounts of these protests against the government. Then 2016, there was this again, some rebel was killed in south part of the Kashmir, and that started a kind of encounter cycle. And every now and then we used to hear that 2 people have been killed, 5 rebels have been killed, 4 people have been. That was a daily story. So this has not been an easy growing up in Kashmir at all. And it's not just with me. You can talk to any Kashmiri. You must have been hearing the same stories that growing in Kashmir has been very difficult, except the period from 2001 to 2007. That has been the only period wherein we saw relatively little bit of calm, stability, and prosperity.
Yes, in talking to other Kashmiris, just one thing that really stands out to me that I've heard on a couple of occasions is this idea that as a Kashmiri growing up, you may be walking down the street and you encounter people who are not from Kashmir, who are holding guns, who challenge you that you must show your identification in order to prove that you're from Kashmir, and just how disturbing this
Yeah,
has been to many people that have grown up in it.
absolutely. You are being humiliated every time. So I have myself been taken to custody a couple of times, beaten by CRPF people, just because I crossed a line, or I just happened to cross the line in terms of traffic, or sometimes you were playing outside and a ball went in their compound, where in their camps were. They would just go out and beat you. There's no justification for that. I have myself been beaten twice by CRPF people, and this is the person talking to you who lives in the heart of the city. Just imagine the situation of the people who are living in rural areas. For them, trampling on their rights is even more easier. They cannot go to press, they cannot speak on social media, they cannot go to the police station. So the situation in rural areas has been even worse, and this is the precise reason why there is the kind of human right abuses that has been happening, be it the mass rape of Kunan Pushpara, be it the fake encounters, or be it the kind of the disappearances of people. So this kind of thing has been happening, and that's the precise reason why this the reaction comes out in a violent way in sometimes when you have your political space being choked and you are being kind of given such humiliating treatment. Then the response for some people comes in a very violent way, which is not good, and which is, I believe, what they have done today. I mean, the abrogation of Article 370. I see separatism going to new heights now, because there will be the lines will be blurred between mainstream and separatism now. Even mainstream people will talk the same thing which separatists have been talking all these years.
It just, with all this that's happening, and as Kashmiris, as has been discussed, have not been given a place of prominence in this discussion of the issue of Jammu and Kashmir and its future. And the discussion was not held with them even in the scrapping of the Articles 370, 35A. And then, of course, with J&K, it was stripped of its statehood. It was
Yeah,
demoted. It was demoted to a union territory.
downgraded to, yeah.
Downgraded. With all of this, what do you believe the future looks like for Kashmir?
Future looks very grim, and I have never been so clueless and so ambiguous about my future uh, before. This is a very grim scenario. I see people might say the Indian media is projecting things are very calm in Kashmir. People are not coming out that ferociously out and protesting. But you need to understand another thing, that there are 800,000 security forces already, and they pumped in another 50,000 security forces. So there's a curfew-like situation. There is Section 144 being uh, in place, which doesn't
And
allow people to
just,
assemble.
just for the record, tell me, what is Section 144?
More than five people cannot assemble together. More than five people, yeah, that is in place, and there are unprecedented amount of checkpoints, and people are forced to remain behind their doors. But having said that, I see the next 4 5 years uh, are going to be very, very grim. I see a lot of separatism thought getting prominence, which was already popular there. It will add more. Second, there will be a fresh, there will be a new ground for recruitment for towards rebels. The rebels who are having an armed rebellion will be more ferocious. I wish that should not happen. That should not happen, because armed rebellion is not in anybody's favor. But because of this thing, I see many people heading towards that route as well. And with that thing unfolding, I see a lot of human right violations from the Indian security forces, because this is how they deal with it. And there will be new equations in terms of politics developing there, because it's a union territory now, and Ladakh will be separated. So there will be new equations in terms of mainstream politics. This is going to be a huge mayhem, and I am skeptical if India will be able to control it or not. And the other dimensions which are outside to Kashmir, the other stakeholders, be it from across the border, or be it China raising it in the Security Council, or be it Pakistan raising it in the asking China to raise it in the Security Council. Those dimensions are also going to unfold something which is very scary. And being the nuclear power, India as well as Pakistan as well as China, being in the center of all these three countries, so we are in a very very risky situation. We are a collateral which is bound to get damaged. That I will not shy from saying. And I see very very a lot of human rights abuses coming in coming times, a lot of protests coming in coming times. And I don't know, and economics will be the last things that Modi government has promised to, that will improve. I don't see that happening in near future. I think a lot of mayhem is going to unfold.
Okay, Jess, I want to thank you for your time. I sincerely appreciate you offering your
Thank
opinion,
you.
perspective, and opening up with your feelings and your thoughts on the background and the current situation there in Kashmir. I hope you get back
Thank you so much.
in very soon. Uh,
Thank thank you, Peter. Thank you so much. Thank
I
you so much.
stand in solidarity with you in wishing, hoping for peace and for calm in Kashmir and for a bright future there.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.